Hello everybody, this is Nerdy Geeky, and today I want to talk to you about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, which you probably know because it's in the title. But I really want to talk to you about these because I was really anticipating these games. 18 years ago, I was bought my first game, and that was Pokemon Yellow. Not the first game I ever played, but the first game that I ever owned, and I 100%ed that game. I loved it, and it put me on a track of gaming, and especially RPGs, like World of Warcraft, like The Legend of Zelda, and like Elder Scrolls. So reimagining it and seeing it on the big screen on a Switch was really exciting for me. But I was also a little bit anxious about the things that they added, like the Pokemon Go mechanics, and the things that they took away, like wild battles, which has been in since the very first game. So I want to talk about all these things and a few extra things in this review. I'm going to try and stay as objective as possible, but of course it will be a little bit subjective on my part as well. But let's see how we go. So as I said, it's a reimagining of Pokemon Yellow, which came out in 1998, 20 years ago, and ever since then, Pokemon games haven't really changed much at all. In fact, this game has the most dynamic changes in a Pokemon game in 20 years, and that mostly because of the Pokemon Go mechanics and taking out wild battles, which I will discuss later. But it's very scary for gamers like me, who have been playing these games for 18 years, and then suddenly they change a little bit. But up top, I want to say that I've never had a problem with changes. I just don't want the changes to be detrimental to the games. But let's start off really easily. So it's a reimagining, it's not a remake. So there are changes, like you are not Red. And it's made quite clear that you are not Red, because later you meet Blue, Red's rival, who effectively is Gary from the anime. And he even tells you of his rival and his friend, or something like that. And they retcon the Pokedex a little bit. And I kind of liked this, that Blue talked about writing information about Pokemon down on lots of bits of paper, and he had to keep taking them back to his granddad, Professor Oak. I liked that, because you're supposed to be the first person to get the Pokedex from Professor Oak in Pokemon Yellow, and they translated that to this. Because it would be kind of redundant to give you one now and tell you off, oh, go on this adventure that I got someone 18 years ago to do. So that was interesting how they got around that. I enjoyed it, and they put effort into it. The game graphics and the art style, just go real simple first, is great. It looks like Pokemon, it feels like Pokemon, and it's smoother, and the graphics are nice, and the little movie cutscenes look great, and it looks great on the TV, and it looks great on the handheld. It looks great overall. I'm 100% behind every choice they made. It's a little bit cartoony, but it's still in that sort of Pokemon game style, and they've made everything bigger, but at the same time the space between everything seems to be about right relatively. And that leads me to things like translation of areas. So translation of the cities. All of the cities and towns are clearly what they are supposed to be, and they look like how they're supposed to look, but updated. And I think they did a really good job. I think they've taken a lot of care over this game to get it right. And everywhere looks really, really good and really interesting. But I feel like I'm revisiting them again for the first time. I'm seeing them in a different way. I'm seeing them in 3D. I'm seeing them in lots of colour. And it's really interesting to explore a game I loved when I was like 11 years old. So they did a really good job there, I think. And accompanying those is the music, which is fantastic. To hear all these classic Pokemon themes done with an orchestra sounds amazing and relaxing and really interesting, and sometimes I just sort of leave it on and listen to the music. It is good music on its own, and it's just really, really good. I don't hear anybody talking about the music in these reviews ever, and I think that's a loss to the reviews, because the music really stood out for me in this game more than any other Pokemon game has. The gameplay, so the gameplay in general, I think is great. It's the normal gameplay anyway. You catch Pokemon and you train them and you fight trainers and you fight gyms and then you fight the Pokemon League, which I haven't got to yet, by the way. I'm actually 6 gyms in. I'm just about to leave Fuchsia City and go to the Seafoam Islands. Woo! So that's where I'm up to. But I am a fair way through the game, and I think this is... I waited to do a review. I waited to do a review because there are a lot of reviews out there that are saying things that aren't correct because they haven't gone far enough into the game yet. So let's talk about those things in a second, because I want to talk about Pikachu and Eevee first. So I know a lot of people don't enjoy the mechanics of like stroking your Pokemon, and dressing your Pokemon up, and talking to your Pokemon in different areas. I like it. It's really interesting, and it gets you involved in the game. It's kind of cute, and it makes you care about your Pokemon. It gives them a bit of life. You go like when you go into the Pokemon Tower and you look at your Pikachu on your arm, and it's like scared. It's like pulling this, and I like that. It's interacting with the environment, and it's just immersing you in this world better. But you don't have to do it. If you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to bother. You can have your Pikachu. I had my Pikachu look like a massive hipster for a while, and it looked great. I loved it. I was dressed in a suit. He was dressed in a suit, and he had like glasses and a hat. It was fantastic. I love all that stuff. So I think they did that really well, and it's just a nice extra. You don't have to do it. What you do have to do is the Pokemon Go mechanics, and this is where this review lengthens a little bit, because I really want to get into these. So the mechanics are that you click your ball and you flick your wrist and you throw your ball, and hopefully you'll catch your Pokemon. But you've got to do the action. You can turn these off, by the way. Just up top, you can turn these off if you don't like them. I assume you just press the buttons. But I like this. It's fun, it's interactive, and it's not hard. And something that has annoyed me in other reviews on the internet is that people have been putting up videos of like balls falling on the floor and balls missing and all this. And it's honestly, it's complete rubbish. It's really easy to hit the Pokemon if the Pokemon's in the middle of the screen. Caveat. Okay, but it's really easy to throw the ball hard enough to get to the Pokemon. Your balls aren't going to fall on the floor because you're not throwing them hard enough. You just flick the wrist. That's all you do. You don't have to like throw your arms forward. But what doesn't work with this mechanic is that the Pokemon move around a lot, especially bird Pokemon, any kind of flying Pokemon. And when they're on either side of the screen and not in the middle on a TV screen, it's really hard to throw your ball to the sides of the screen. And I have found that I have to really throw my arm like 90 degrees to either side to throw the ball to the right side, and it's far too much. And I have genuinely hurt my shoulder doing it, because I've had to really like rock my shoulder 90 degrees, and catching 200 Pokemon this week has also hurt my wrist. So I think there's improvement there. There's definitely improvement there. Handheld kind of fixed this a little bit, because if you pick up the game in handheld, which you don't really want to, you want to play it on a big screen. Let's be honest. That's, it's Pokemon, but it's not on a Game Boy anymore. It's on the big screen. But if you pick it up handheld and the Pokemon starts moving around, you can move your Switch around the room like augmented reality and follow the Pokemon and recenter the Pokemon into the middle of the screen. Click your button, throw your ball. And that works really well, but you can't do that on a TV. And I think that needs addressing, because just moving around and doing the action here while I'm talking, my shoulder is actually sore. It actually hurts right now, quite a lot. So I think that really, really does need addressing going forward if they're going to keep using these Go mechanics. But overall, I think the Go mechanics are fun, and I don't want to turn them off. I found myself not wanting to turn them off. I do enjoy them. What I don't enjoy is a catching simulator, which is what this kind of comes out as, because there are no wild battles, and we knew that going in. But it is detrimental to the game, because until I think I got my third badge, Lieutenant Surge, until I got my third badge, I had no clue what most of my Pokemon moves were, because I had barely used them. And every Pokemon trainer, even though there are a lot of trainers, and they've increased the amount of trainers because you're not having wild battles, which is a really good idea, and they thought about it. But they've all got like one Pokemon, and your Pikachu or your Eevee is so overpowered, it will just decimate everything. And I'm using decimate in the modern sense, not the classical sense of killing 10% of troops, as an example of a nation that's recently been taken over. But you will absolutely destroy your enemies with your main Pokemon, and I think you could actually get through most of this game with just hot Pokemon. It is that, and that's another thing. It is easy. It is easy mode Pokemon. To get people in from Pokemon Go who have never played a Pokemon game before, to get them into Pokemon, which I think it does do. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments if this is your first Pokemon game, what you thought of it, and how easy it was to transition maybe from Pokemon Go into this game. And I think it probably would be quite easy. But for gamers like me who have been playing this for like 18 or 20 years, it's a little boring because it's very easy. But I'm still having fun, if that makes sense. But not as much fun as I think I would have had if they put a hard mode option. And I would like a hard mode option. I think a hard mode option for gamers like us would satisfy us, but you could leave it on normal mode for new gamers, which would satisfy them. And I don't think that would have been that hard to do, quite frankly. But overall, the not having wild battles, I think, is one of the biggest gripes of the game. It is a detriment to the game. But people who are telling you that there are no wild battles are lying to you. And I have seen so many people on YouTube do a review, like the day it comes out, and talk about how there's no wild battles. There are. There's only a few. But there are there. And the first one you'll come across is Snorlax. When you finally wake him up with a Pokemon Flute, you will have to battle him, and you will have to knock him out within 5 minutes, and then you get to catch him. And I think that's great, because there's no more worried about getting his health down to just like 1 or just a little bit, and maybe knocking him out, maybe not knocking him out, hopefully not knocking him out because he'll disappear forever. And it also makes more sense to knock them out and then just catch them while they're knocked out. But anyway, my shoulder hurts. You will basically knock them out and then go to catch them. And you will also do this for the legendary Pokemon. And there's some like electrodes as well that you do this with in the power plant. Great. I think they were testing that. It feels like a test in this game. I like that. I like battling them first and then choosing to catch them or not catch them. Of course, you're going to catch them in this game because it's only the rarest Pokemon that you come across in that situation. In the next game, I'm hoping that they put the Pokemon Go mechanic in, the catching mechanic, and I'm hoping that they make you battle every wild Pokemon. But in this game, that's not going to happen. But most of your experience is built on catching Pokemon. You catch the Pokemon. If you catch the same Pokemon over and over again, you get combos, and that gives you more experience. It also lets you catch stronger Pokemon with better stats, which I think is a really interesting mechanic. And it also increases getting shinies, so you can shiny hunt on purpose for specific Pokemon. And I think that is also really good, and I like that. I like that part of the mechanic. I just don't like all of the mechanic. I also love being able to see the Pokemon in the world. Having one of your Pokemon out, as well as your Pikachu. Seeing other trainers with their Pokemon out. And seeing Pokemon, wild Pokemon, like walking across the roads and flying across barriers and coming out of the grass. And you can just like run into the ones that you want, or you can run into all of them if you want. Brilliant. Love it. It makes this world come alive. A lot more than any other Pokemon game has done before. And I want that to stay. That is fantastic. I love it. And I love the combos. So there's some really, really good stuff in this. So I'm just going to move on now to the last thing, which is the Pokemon Go Park. Because that's a big feature in this. That you can transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Go. It's the only game you can transfer Pokemon from, except obviously between the Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, if you know someone who has a Switch. I like it. Because I don't need to buy both games to fill my Pokédex now. Because I have all of the exclusives. I think there's 9 Pokemon Eevee exclusives that I can't get on Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. But I have them all on my Pokemon Go. So I just transferred them over, went to the Pokemon Go Park, and caught them all. And yeah, you get the same catching mechanic, and they can run away. They don't go very far. You find them again, and then you catch them again. Or try to catch them again. But it means you can fill your Pokédex, and by doing so you unlock Meltan on Pokemon Go, which then you can transfer to this Pokemon, and have 152 Pokemon. Great! It's a nice reward for people who do play Pokemon Go, but it's not necessary. Again, it is not necessary. The only thing is, if you don't play Pokemon Go, that Go Park does replace the Safari Park, and that's kind of a shame. I love the Safari Park. I went there hundreds of times. I loved the Safari Park. That's where all the rare Pokemon were. That's where your Scyther was, and that's where like Kangaskhan was. And removing that does remove a little bit from the game. They've also removed the Celadon gambling, which I completely understand why, because it's promoting gambling to kids, and these days that's really frowned upon. Obviously, they've removed it. And they kind of just throw Pokemon at you, like, oh, here's a Bulbasaur, here's a Squirtle, here's this Pokemon, here's a Lapras, here's a Porygon, just for doing nothing but the game. Like, just for going through the game, you get all these Pokemon thrown at you. It is easy mode. But it's fun. It is fun. I know people don't like things changing that they love, but some of these stuff is really good. The Pokemon Go Park works really well, and it means that you don't have to buy both games, because they are expensive. And I think that it's a good addition. And you don't have to use it if you don't want to. It's not integral to the game. So, my overall thoughts are, I think what Pokemon Let's Go set out to do it does really well. I think there's room for improvement, especially with the Pokemon Go mechanics as I've described, between the TV and the handheld. But I think what they set out to do, they have accomplished, and they've done it really, really well. Whether I want all of those aspects included or removed into a game is another thing. I think they need to put wild battles back in, because I don't want just to catch 1,000 Pidgey to try and level up my Pikachu 1 level, because you don't get a lot of experience either. Experience is actually kind of hard to come across. And you don't get a lot of experience from gym leaders, which used to be one of the reasons to go there. Yeah, you get a TM and you get a badge, but what you really wanted was that chunk of experience that you would get, and you don't get a lot of experience anymore, and it makes battling the gym leaders a little fruitless and a little rewardless. It's just a progression part of the game, like something you have to do to go to the next place. So I think that needs to come back. I think you need to be able to get experience, more experience, through fighting trainers and fighting Pokemon than just catching 20,000 Pidgey and 50,000 Caterpie and Kakunas, and it hurts my wrist and my shoulder. Ow. So my overall thoughts are, I think this gets about an 8 out of 10 from me. I think it pretty much nailed what it wanted to do. I don't think all of the changes are good for the game, but I think 90% of them are. Thank you very much for listening. This went on for a lot longer than I wanted it to, but I think I've talked about everything that I want to talk about. And I want to hear what you think of this game. If you've played it, I also would be really interested if this is your first game, what you thought of it. If this is your 18th game like mine, what you thought of it. Which one did you get? Did you go for Pikachu or Eevee? I went for Pikachu because I like Pikachu. I like Pikachu and it was nostalgic, and I went for that one. Eevee kind of annoys me, and you can't evolve Eevee. That's like the whole point of Eevee. It's even in the name, Eeveelution. It's the whole point of Eevee is to evolve it, and you can't. So I know you can't evolve Pikachu, but that was the staple of Yellow anyway, so that kind of doesn't count. Did you find it too easy? Did you find it too hard? Yeah, right. Of course, I'm supposed to beg you now to subscribe and like, and click that little bell icon apparently now. Honestly, do what you want. This is YouTube. YouTube's just going to do what it wants anyway. So, but thank you very much for watching. That's the biggest thing. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe just share it. Maybe just put it up on your Twitter or your Facebook or something. That is more than enough. And I'm hoping to get back to making more videos. Thank you very much for watching.